In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. This is Bryce D. Nyer coming at you from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, and we are here for another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are located in this on-fire world that we're in right now. So tonight's topic is going to be, get ready for it, the enemy within. Yeah, the enemy within. Now, there's no doubt about it in our life that there are people, there are entities out there that are diametrically opposed to what you are doing and to what I am doing. And there are those people and entities and agencies out there that don't want you to succeed in your endeavor of being the best version that you can be. And as you go through this thing called the legal matrix. Some people call it the legal profession, but it is a legal matrix. You law students and you new young lawyers are going to find out that there are enemies all around. And sometimes you're not going to know who the enemies are or who the enemy is. But there is a bigger enemy out there roaming around that goes wherever you go. And that enemy is the enemy within. And you're like, what's that mean, Bryce? What's that? Well, I'm going to tell you what it means. So we all have this thing called, I call them pits. I learned that term in Wake Up Warrior that I'm a member of. It was founded by Garrett J. White, who's also the CEO. And in talking to my main man, Bryce Prescott, who produces our podcast, he and his team, and they're wonderful. And so we've had these discussions of these things about, these pits where you're down and you're really low and you're having major problems in one of the domains of body, being balance, business, or fulfillment. And then you go from pit to peak. And that's kind of the way your life goes. And you always want to, be at the peak, because being down there in the pit is no fun. And the common denominator of why people are in a pit is because it's the enemy within themselves. And whether you believe this or not, I think you'll find it to be factually true. As you progress, if that's the word we want to use that term in the legal profession, i.e. the legal matrix, you are going to be fighting with yourself almost every day. You do. You fight yourself in each one of these domains of body, of being, of balance, of business, and fulfillment, because there are so many forces that are pulling you in a gazillion different directions, biting for your time, for your affection, just trying to consume you in every way possible. And it's going to come from your staff, your clients, your family, the judges, the opposing counsel, everybody that comprises the legal matrix. And so what happens is that you go along in life, and pretty soon you almost get to the point where you don't like yourself very much. You kind of get into this loathing of yourself and this self-hate. And that's where the enemy within begins to progress, begins to grow. And if you're not careful, that enemy within will conquer you. And it will lead you to a path of destruction, of the pits and the sedations, and you will not be able to overcome the obstacles that you will face in your life and that you will face in the legal profession. And it's a strange thing when you think about this enemy within. But in reality, the biggest reason people fail at many things, including me, is because this enemy within takes over. It takes over how you think, how you act, what you say, what you do, what you don't do. And for example, one of the biggest enemies within is procrastination. Procrastination, you know what that means. You just know you should do something, but you don't do it. And you make 1,000 excuses, 1,000 reasons why you didn't get it done. That has been one of the biggest things, the biggest obstacles, the biggest enemies within me in my whole life is the procrastination. And it took me a long time to just go, go. Instead of sitting and pondering and doing an analysis for 18 million years and phoning 15 different people, just to hear what they had to say, to try and, justify me taking longer to make a decision. So these are the type of things that you're going to see about the enemy within. I mean, one of them clearly is procrastination. Another is going to be that you don't ask yourself the better question. You keep saying what you don't want instead of saying what you want. And that is an enemy from within, because once you know what you want, everything else becomes totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant, because when you're focused on what you want, you're going to do the things to get you what you want, and you're not going to do things you don't want because they don't matter anymore. So I want you to start thinking about this. Let this sift. I like this word sift. Let it sift. Let it just stir inside you about, what kind of enemies do you have within yourself? Is it procrastination? Is it, maybe you get upset over every little thing. Maybe you blow everything out of proportion. I used to do that too. Maybe it's fear to move forward. It's just like we have this thing called the Junior Partner Program, where we want law students, college students, or high school students to come in and sit at the head table here with me to make life and death decisions as if they're already lawyers, where they'll actually come in and make decisions about what my firm does or doesn't do. And I find that a lot of law students, especially, one of the enemies within is their fear to open, own, operate, and lead a law firm. Now, again, you can have many enemies within yourself. And what you have to do is you got to go hunt them down. You got to face them. I mean, it took me a long time to really, successfully war and battle with some of the enemies within myself. And I still have some. I mean, you're always going to have some. You're never going to be at total peace with yourself because, we're human beings and we are conflicted about what actions to take or what actions not to take. And a lot of times we know the things that we're supposed to do, but our own internal feelings, our internal thought process, they're at war. I mean, there really is, in a sense, two people within each of us. The one that knows what should be done and the one that's like, why? I don't want to do it. And that's an inner conflict. That's an enemy within. People that achieve great results that I have seen and studied, they have been able to go inside themselves, so to speak, emotionally, mentally, and physically, and overcome the enemies within. When you see great athletes in all the sports or in the Olympics, you see that they have overcome major obstacles and they have warred with and destroyed a lot of the enemies within. Some of them were insecure about whether they could be this top athlete or, professionals in any industry. And so for all of you out there that are thinking about, going to war with the legal matrix, becoming a lawyer, going in this thing, the legal profession, you have to take a deep look within yourself. You have to do an honest assessment of where you are in body and being and balance and business and fulfillment. And you have to identify in each one of those domains the enemies that are prowling around like lions seeking to devour you. I mean, there's scripture in the Bible about that, about Satan. He's like a lion roaming the earth, seeking to devour anyone and anybody in his path. And so when you think about the enemy within, it really does kind of go back to in the biblical sense, the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, when they took a bite of the apple of the tree of knowledge, and sin entered the world, and then you begin to have enemies within, which is within your soul, within your heart, within your mind. And ever since that time in the Garden of Eden, the human race, men, women, children, everybody, have been struggling and fighting the enemy that's within themselves. I mean, when you think about it, everybody walks the line of sanity and insanity. And it's a fine line. I mean, think about this for a moment. Some people do some really insane and atrocious things, and a lot of people don't. What is it that makes the difference in those that may do really horrible crimes and horrible things and those that do not? I mean, people walk a fine line. They do. We all do. And it's the ability to go to war with the enemies that are within ourselves, to successfully combat them, to seek out, close with, and destroy them in this ongoing war in the human race. I mean, and many times you're going to find yourself, you're going to be at war physically, mentally, emotionally, and you're going to be in spiritual wars. And all of these actually do exist. And if they didn't exist, you would not see all the chaos that goes on in the world and the horrible things that are happening. And I am convinced, beyond any reasonable doubt, that when men and women step up to the plate and they do the right thing and they stand for truth and they operate in truth, that they have gone to war within themselves to conquer anything or any obstacle that would destroy them. I see that almost every day, even from a person that may not have much money, not much wealth, but they get up every single day and they go to work and they take care of their families and they just keep moving forward because they have overcome the war inside themselves. It would allow them to take the victim mentality. And they don't. So they war with that and they succeed. And they get up every day and they go back to work and they continue to provide for their families and themselves. And they keep moving forward in life. Conversely, there are those, especially in the legal profession, that you will find that the enemies, the demons inside themselves, will utterly destroy their lives. It can be in the form of alcohol, illegal drugs, porn addictions, any addiction to food, where they don't take care of themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and they're not warring with themselves in the right way. And so for me, after, over 30 years battling the legal matrix and warring with the legal matrix, and many times warring with myself, I have come to be very surprised that sometimes, I am still here mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because I know when I've had the enemies within me. I know. I can look back and see like the trail of tears and the scars emotionally, mentally. And it's just, it's a trail. And as you go through life and as you progress forward, you're going to have scars. You're going to have war wounds. There's no doubt about it. The enemy within will inflict deeper wounds than actually being in the military and being physically injured. Because some of the biggest wounds that come from the enemies from within are the ones that attack you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Because if they're able to do that, if the enemies within are able to get to you in those three particular realms and really, get a foothold inside you in those particular three realms there, oh man, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to make your war all the harder. And so I would submit to you and I would have you consider that you every single day that you awaken and when you go to bed at night, you need to do a self-audit, the self-assessment of what wars are you fighting within yourself? What is it you're battling? What is it you're battling in all of the domains? In body, is it fitness? Is it nutrition, what you eat? In balance, are you fighting with your spouse or with your kid or with your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, or somebody that you love? In being, or are you battling God? Because you're not going to win that one. You get free will, but if you battle him, He's going to win every time. You know that. He created the world, created you, created everything. But it maybe you're struggling with some sin. We all do. That's a huge enemy from within. And then in business, I mean, what are you battling internally? Who's the enemy within in business? Is it procrastination? Is it sedation? Is it burnout? Is it total fatigue? Total lack of interest? And then in fulfillment, what is it in this domain of fulfillment to where these other domains, you just can't find it? What is the enemy inside you that is stopping you, that is blocking you from being the best version of who you can be? And I will tell you, students, it's exciting, when you get accepted to law school. It's probably exciting, the first year or two. It's exciting, when you pass the bar exam. But you're going to get thrown into the Roman Colosseum. And they're going to be lions and tigers and gladiators. And they're going to come at you. But the biggest enemy you will face, as you war with the legal matrix and as you go into the legal profession, it's going to be you. It's going to be you. And I talk to a lot of students and they don't believe this. They don't think that's possible. But talk to them in 5 or 10 years and they'll be like, man, you're right. You're right. I see too many of my colleagues, too many, every day, that they have just not learned how to conquer the enemy within themselves. And it's not hard to do. It's not hard to be battle worn, battle weary, and not have the strength and energy to rise up and to battle and war within yourself, to do the things you need to do, and to overcome the obstacles that will destroy you in the domains of body, being, balance, business, and fulfillment. So here's the deal. I want you. It's a very serious subject, but I want you to ask yourself this better question: where in your world, where in your domains, where are you at war? Who or what is the enemy within you in each one of the domains? A body, a being, a balance, a business, and a fulfillment. And what is the process that you must go through to war with the enemy within? And what is the pain that you must embrace? Because everything you do in life is going to require a process. And it's going to involve pain, and you have to embrace the pain. We've said this in earlier episodes. Okay, that's the better question. Where in your world, where inside of you can you identify the enemy or the enemies within all of those domains? So shoot me a direct message. Shoot me an email at brycednair@gmail.com. Let me hear your feedback. And when you listen to these podcasts on all the major media platforms, chime in. Let's hear what you have to say. Make some comments. Get off the bench, get in the game, and let's have that conversation and let's have that dialogue. So until next episode, it's love and light. And this is Bryce D. Nair coming at you from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, where every day men and women don the uniform, and guess what? They face the enemy many times overseas, but they also face the enemy from within themselves. This is Bryce D. Nair, and I am out of here.